Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would take a little trip down memory lane and share with you a story from the early years of me trying to become a freelance illustrator. I got the idea from this because I was recently on a podcast. I'm really sorry if you can hear my pug, he's being very snory today. But yeah, I got the idea from being on a podcast recently called Being Freelance, which I will leave linked down below. On it I talked about the transition from being a uni student to finally being a freelance illustrator. The story I've got to tell you is a little bit of a negative one, so I hope it's not too much of a down in the dumps kind of video, but there is a happy ending, so I thought I would share it anyway. And I really hope that it helps some of you who might be at the early stage of trying to figure out how to be freelance as well. For a bit of backstory, I graduated in 2010, and after that I spent the next couple of years trying to get out of my overdraft and trying to get back to London, which is where I studied, because I thought that's where I really needed to be in order to be an illustrator. It's where a lot of the creative companies are based, and I just thought there'd be the most work there, so that was my aim. That was the first couple of years after graduating. Finally got to London. After a bit of travelling and a bit of money saving, I was working as a waitress in London, trying to pay my rent and also trying to build my portfolio and trying to get as many freelance jobs as I could. I wasn't getting nearly enough, although I had noticed that it was picking up slightly, but then I was also facing a lot of disappointment, a lot of rejection, and just being ignored by a lot of people that I was contacting as well. Until I thought I finally got my big breakthrough. I was contacted by a rather large brand, a UK-based brand that is known worldwide. I don't want to name names because that might be embarrassing for both parties involved. I'm sure they've since moved on from this and it wasn't really much of a big deal to them, so I'm not gonna name names, but it was a big opportunity for me and I went to meet them in their offices and they praised my work a lot, said they really liked it and they wanted to do a range of homewares, which is like my dream job. It's still my dream commission to this day. I was working full-time at that stage as a waitress in a really popular restaurant, so it was really hectic, but I committed to the commission and I was really excited to just get stuck into it and hopefully get my name out there. I just really felt like this would be the start of my career once I had this job in my portfolio. So my memory's not so good, but I think I was working on it for a couple of weeks. It just so happened that this commission coincided with the restaurant being short-staffed, so I ended up having to work longer hours and I wouldn't finish until about 3 AM and then I'd be in the early morning shifts as well. So I was really not getting enough sleep and feeling really frazzled as it was. But I basically just used every spare second I had to work on this commission. And I had confidence in myself because they told me they liked my work and it seemed like a commission that really fit in with my style of work. It was going to be a homeware range based on farm animals, which of course is still my dream job. So really cute farm animals I was working on, lots of cows, sheep, chickens. After a couple of weeks I sent the illustrations to the art director so she could take a look at what I've been working on and give me any feedback. The response that I got from her completely disappointed me and kind of came out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it because I'd been so caught up in the excitement of the commission. I told everyone at work, at the restaurant, they were excited for me as well. I just kind of felt like I was really working as hard as possible and that nothing could go wrong. But the art director got back to me and said that the work was disappointing, I believe is the wording she used. I think I probably deleted the email by now because it's very painful to think about. Yeah, she said the artwork was disappointing, it's not what they had hoped for. She had shown the team and they had decided to cancel the project and basically go find another artist to work with, which was absolutely devastating. I had poured myself into this job and I had poured so much hope into it as well. I thought this was the start of more things to come, and to be told that it was being cut short because I wasn't good enough was such a massive blow. And yeah, it was really upsetting. So I think I cried a lot for the next couple of days. I know that I had to go into work and I cried there, and I had to go home because I was just so miserable. I told my friends at the weekend that I thought this might be the end of me trying to become an illustrator, and maybe I'd try and find a new line of work as well. At the time I really meant that, because it was really painful. The disappointment was so deep, and if I'd been turned down by this massive brand, I didn't really see how I could ever recover, and maybe they were right and I wasn't good enough and I should just quit now, because this is obviously a very clear sign that I am not going to be good enough to be an illustrator. I can't really remember what happened in the weeks after that, but eventually I just realised that I wanted to continue with this journey, and there really wasn't going to be another career that was going to make me as happy as being an illustrator. So I managed to get over a massive hurdle like that and get back on my feet. And after a while I was able to look back at the work I'd produced for them, and I can see what they mean. The work is not by any means my best work at all. You can definitely tell that I'm overworked at this stage, and that I'm using the early hours in the morning to do this work for them. It just wasn't possible to produce the amount of work they needed to the quality they needed within their deadline whilst also having a full-time job. But what else could I do? I needed to pay my bills, so I couldn't exactly quit my job over one commission. So everything happens for a reason, and I think that learning to get over that massive disappointment and rejection really proved to me how much I wanted to be an illustrator, and it still reminds me to this day that it's what I want to do, because those are really hard times. But it all worked out in the end, because maybe about half a year later I got a job illustrating sheep. I worked on a big campaign for Wool Week, which happens in London, and my work was exhibited across London in all the Wool Week events, and it was in big high street shops as well, and on leaflets and online, and it got me quite a lot of publicity, which was amazing. So to go from that rejection after painting a lot of sheep and cows and chickens to then work on a really successful project about sheep was a bit like therapy for me. I was able to put that disappointment to bed and move on after that. So yeah, I really hope this story has inspired you if you are in the early stages of trying to become a freelancer. Trust me, I know how hard it is to do that, and there's a lot of pitfalls, and the setbacks can feel really painful. They can also seem like signs that maybe you should give up, but trust me, don't. It's a painful journey for anyone who's trying to pursue their dreams as a career. It's never a straight line, it's never simple, so I definitely still feel like I'm in the very early stages of that journey, and I'm sure I will face disappointment like that again. But now I think with age and with a bit of time, I've really learned how to pick myself up, because I know that I can. I've done it before. I've had lower points and I've managed to bounce back from them, and you can too, so don't worry. I hope you enjoyed this little story time. If you have a similar story of disappointment, please share it in the comments so I don't feel alone. Let me know what you thought of this video, and I'll see you again soon for another one. Goodbye.